Hi, hello, and how are you? Come on in and stay a while. It's time to get coached up with another edition of the Coach Scott Field Show. I hope that you take the time to invite a friend or share this content with a friend, as this show, as you will see as a viewer, will allow you to connect with some of the greatest sports figures around the globe. Today, I am super excited to have an amazing guest on the show with us. I'm your host, Coach Scott Fields, and for the next 50 minutes, not only do we share the same last name, we've also shared common stops around the globe with this great game of basketball. I could go on for hours reading these honors and accolades of this young man. Uh, Three-time CBA All Star, three-time, uh, gosh, first team, all team, CBA Defensive Player of the Year, two-time CBA scoring champion, three-time Parade All-American. He would have been in the 1996 draft class with Kobe and guys like Mike Bibby. In my opinion, my guest today is probably one of the top 10 people as far as talent and skill wise that did not make it to the NBA, and we'll get into that. Ronnie Fields. Ronnie, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been it's like it's been a while, man. I know I've been a little bit busy, been, wanting to be on the show. You reached out and it's an honor to be on here and just, like kind of share my story and thoughts on just basketball in general and a little bit of my journey.
I,
Um, that's why it took a while. I ended up doing, you know, podcasts with two great guys, Steve Jackson and Matt Barnes, two great friends,
all
man.
that smoke. Great
Yeah.
interview.
So just for a lot of the people, young kids that heard, they call it like the myth of, Ronnie Fields, but not, never had a chance to see me actually play or talk so much about, my journey. It was good to go in there and share that because a lot of people have always been asking to this day, and I've been retired now for about 15 years. And it comes up, because people kind of intrigued about it. So the more I get a chance to like enlighten people on the journey, I take that opportunity.
Well, I'm beyond humbled and grateful that you're going to share this time with us today because you do have a phenomenal story. I've been a fan of yours for a long time because I grew up in the state of Indiana and you played your ball right there in Chicago, where some of the
Yeah,
best players come from that Chicago area. Um,
yeah.
you got to play with Kevin Garnett, and man, what a team you guys had there at Farragut. Kind of talk about your first interactions with KG and when you realized that, hey, this is for real. He could be transferring from South Carolina to come play at Farragut.
That's one of the funniest stories. I kind of shared a little bit before. I think, like at the time when, especially, I think Jordan and Nike kind of paid the way when the names and the brand of start getting bigger and bigger. So you had Nike All American camp. You had some of the greatest players assemble to be invited there and play. And my guard, my starting guard mate was Allen Iverson. KG was playing for my coach, who was always also invited to camp. And you get guys get a chance to talk, but compete more than anything. That was the biggest thing. Guys always looked to compete, didn't care who it was. You get a chance to play against guys from all over the country, and you got to keep that standard of being the best player in your class each year. It's not, oh, you was playing, you invited automatically. It don't work like that. You had to sustain that. I had sustained that from my eighth grade year all the way through my senior year until I got hurt, to being, if not in the top two or the best player in my class. So this time Nike invited everyone. We started finding out more rules as things start getting a little bit more, you know, business minded, I say, for a lot of young stars and up and coming players. that had potential to play at the NBA level. Um, we was invited to play in the top 40, was I think it's 540 shootout in Portland, Oregon at the base. And that was the time where you get there and you don't know who you're rooming with until you get to the hotel. They give you a key, boom, you walk in there. Oh wow, that was in my being my roommate, ended up being Kevin.
Wow.
So from that point, I tell this story all the time. Is what y'all see with Kevin is so authentic of like he's gonna talk, he loves sports, he eats it, he drinks it. And that night I was tired. But he wanted to continue to keep talking about one, what got intriguing when he started acting like, man, Chicago, a lot of great players, what it's like, all these different things. So at the time, as young kids, you're not pretty much like taking it serious, just having this conversation. Well, that was the last time we had talked that time in Portland. Get back, we had some penalties because of some things transpired with high school players. And then that summer rolled around. A friend of ours from where I grew up at the west side of Chicago was doing a rap video. it was called it was called it was called Booty Bounce, right? Well,
Booty bounce. Yeah.
so so I'm out there, me and a couple other NBA guys. I think Randy Brown, Pete Myers, the guy that the one who was performing the video was his name was Wiggy Wow. So as we get started shooting, as the camera start rolling, ladies dancing, my coach pull up and Kevin get out of the car. I'm like, what are you doing here? So Kev walk up to me like, no, brother, I'm here to stay. So we like, hey, well, welcome. And his first experience with me, and when he got to Chicago, was doing a rap video, dunking and playing basketball in the background. And from there, instantly the chemistry, the mindset of teaming up with another great star player was like a dream come true. And most people see, like, when you compare two great outstanding players, some guys thrive in those moments. Sometimes you have some friction in those moments, and people, it comes down to ego and what you both want. What made it easy for us two, we enjoy playing and enjoy winning. So for me, it wasn't even about that. It was like, look, I was a junior at the time, he was a senior, so Kev took the lead, even though I've been here, but he took the lead, and then we just worked together. That's what made it so much of an amazing year. When you don't both buy in to be great and succeed, that could have turned out into a selfish disaster.
Yep. Yep. I
So
agree. And I've even heard rumors that during that video shoot that, you guys were dunking in the background, the music's playing, the girls are dancing. But when he kind of came in, it all of a sudden became a competitive game in the background instead of just a dunking showcase. Is that true?
So yeah, it did. It's it's supposed to have been fun, and now
Yeah.
it turned into what people didn't realize as the set rolling. We actually playing for real now. The guys taking their shirt off. It's starting to get a little talking trash, but you could hear that part because the music, it was going on. So yeah, it did get serious behind the scene when it's supposed to be you just be playing, doing some dunks for the
Yeah.
video, but it turned into a competitive real game.
you
Yeah,
you gotta love that that's kind of what he brings to the table, and
yeah,
you got to showcase your skills with him, not only in that video, because I've even heard stories that where you started dunking early in grade school, and then by the time you're in 8th grade, I mean, you're taking off from the free throw line with a 50-inch vertical. And I mean, yeah, we talk about a video called Booty Bounce, but man, you had the serious bounce to your game.
I think for me, I think for any young man, especially in the era, I grew up in, tough, difficult area, and you have only so many ways to go of so many things that's around you that's presented. And for me, it was like sports, from baseball starting to do that, and then wiggling over to basketball. and watching so many greats from back then, of course, Jordan, that's my idol. But watching Dr. J, Dominique Wilkins, Magic Bird, Isaiah, and when you see the highlights, the energy, all those things that drove me more to go play out on the playground a lot more and play with some of the older guys. And when you start doing that at an early age, yes, was I getting destroyed? Yeah, they was treating me like I was a baby, I'm playing with grown men. But the thing I think that struck those guys was like, why this kid out here laughing? We keep blocking his shot. My thing was I was just happy y'all let me play. I was just happy to be out there with those adults. And I think that's when they say, okay, something different with this young kid. Most kids getting their shot blocked all the time, they'd be discouraged. I said, no, I just want to be out here playing so I can get better and learn. So that kind of helped me at an early age when I went into high school, starting as a freshman, while I wasn't nervous because I already was playing with grown men.
That's right.
So it didn't phase me when I'm going there playing with other high school kids.
See, I love that you're sharing that, Ronnie, because for basketball players out there, if you're the best player on the court, go find another court. If you're the most, the best business mind at the table, go find another table to get yourself out of your comfort zone. So that way you grow and evolve, especially with the competitive spirit and desire that you had, because you were gifted and talented, but yet you played with such a veracity, almost like a Russell Westbrook back in the day. So
Yeah.
I kind of encourage or implore viewers of this show to go back and look at YouTube videos and see the kind of game that you had, because your stuff is legendary.
Yeah, I think for me, it was that thing. I think, and if growing up playing in Chicago, especially in that era, the thing what people don't understand, this was the funniest consumption when you like when you read people that either played or want to play, or people that analyze your game, is what people don't realize playing in Chicago. If you've never been here, when you break down athletes and what we do, the number one thing playing at the time, I'll never forget this story I tell all the time. What prepared me to be the number one player in the country is they break down every aspect of what you do, every scout, everything. And this what people don't know, that when they write and make comments that don't really understand the ins and outs of all the stuff that goes into it. So I never forget this. We planned out right when they built. First, I'll say playing in the Red West and people seeing me dunking and going past each other. I was one of the best defensive players anyway. But where you don't see as many jump shots, even in the Red West back then from a lot of teams, because in our conference, you are taught to get guarded as soon as you walk in the gym, 94 feet, pressure in your chest. So you ain't going to be shooting there forcing jump shots. That was the first misconception what people didn't understand about when they watch me play, because I'm like, I just blow past guys. They was pressing, trapping, and that's what it was. You wasn't alone to open and shoot jump shots. But this is what when people don't really do their researches and understand. We played in the Kiel Center in St. Louis when they first opened, that big new arena. And the teams was invited, my team, back-to-back years, me and Kevin, and then my senior year, then Mike Bibby and them team, Vince Carter, Stephon Marbury. So we all played in this huge event called the Coca-Cola Shootout.
Oh.
Well, my second year there, the assistant coach that scouted me was like, he told the head coach, I'll never forget this story. He said, when you came up to the scout, you scouting a team like a city where defense is mandatory, 94 feet. So you ain't seeing a lot of jump shots, creating if they there, but not forcing, right? So getting to the basket, making moves, playmaking is what, if you watch D Wade, Derrick Rose, you see what we bring. So that's what I don't think people understand where shooting. You can shoot when it's there and it's open. Guys can shoot the ball. But the way we are taught here is, no, you guard him as soon as he walk out the locker room.
That's right.
So now this coach take that game plan of what he thought to his coach and his team, right? Bob Gibbons, you know who that is.
Oh, of
One
course.
ranked the best of the best from Jordan, all the greatest players ever to ever place and grace a basketball court. He was that guy. I think he was at that game when I'm saying, okay, these guys just sagging off. Okay, y'all give me the shot. That game, I ended up hitting about, I think, 4 or 5 threes. I ended up having like 39 points, and we ended up winning. And the game after the game, and they asked the head coach, "Well, why y'all was sagging off?" Well, the report was he wasn't a great shooter, and then he said, "Well, from what I seen, he's like, well, that was a dumb scouting report. The kid actually can shoot."
That's
And
right.
that's what people don't understand. If you watch basketball, you take what's there when it's there. But if a person playing you a certain way, you dominate until they change it some way. And that's why I say it was so crazy because everybody want to try to break down the sport when you're not in the moment of playing and making those choices. Even with the great players you see, well, this person did that. No, if you in that moment and you never done it and done it consistently, it's hard for you to understand what it feels like. Even even playing pro ball, hitting game winning shots. And I hit a lot of them over my life and career. The moment of being in when you have to take that shot and you got 15, 20,000 people, it's like could you hit those shots? The one thing I learned from MJ is you can't care in that moment. They're gonna love you if you hit it. They're gonna be like, oh, whatever if you don't hit it. So for me, that propelled me. And you gotta think, me 6'3" and a half, 6'4", doing what I was able to do at that level. I think what people don't understand is the way the NBA was back then in my era, people didn't know in terms of how they say, all right, a player will play at this position, that position, right? But then you see this day, all those guys at my position, the Westbrooks, the D Rose, the Dwayne Wades, doing it. So it was like, oh, damn, he definitely would have been that good.
Yep.
So that's why I say when people watching and or assuming that they understand what the mindset of a ball player, I think that's the biggest mistake a person can make,
I,
right?
I'm with you. I'm
You
with
know,
you because I think true basketball minds and people who really know the game, they could see what you bring to the table as far as a skill set and what you would bring to a franchise. You would have been him without a doubt. Have that, car accident not have happened, and we'll kind of get into that too. But you had that game where you were so dominant and so explosive and could score. You mentioned D Wade. D Wade's a guy who put Marquette on his back and took them to the Final Four.
yes, all the way
You would
to
have
the
been
Final
that
Four.
same guy. I
Yeah.
mean, guys with basketball minds know that.
And that's why I tell people carrying a team and winning. Even like I said, if you people that never played in Chicago would understand it is tough. It is not easy.
Yep.
And even when Kevin left my senior year, the one thing I had to hear when it was my senior year after he graduated in my time was y'all ain't gonna be good. He ain't here no more. You're not gonna. So it fueled me. That fueled me to being the number one player in the country. Not only that, I averaged almost like 30, I don't know, it was 35, 36 points a game. And I was dominant at a stretch right leading up into my car accident. I was averaging 40 points a game.
Woo.
See,
In a tough environment, not
in
an
a
easy
tough
environment where you're
environment
out
where
there
it's
playing
like,
against a bunch of nobodies.
and that was the one thing that people don't realize. Like they probably like defense and physicality. If coaches on other teams put you out there and you didn't do that, I mean, like almost Detroit Piston, like
Yeah.
you was not gonna play. And me and my coach was talking about this a while ago. They said, Ronnie, if they would have called half the fouls and you went to the free throw line, you probably your senior year would have throughout the whole year probably would average close to 39 points a game.
Man, I
And
think about what you just said right there, Ronnie. I mean, that's giving people the business. And you were doing that consistently night in and night out. And I'm not just saying that because you're a guest on my show. I'm saying that because I want the viewers to understand how phenomenal and gifted of a player you were before your accident. Because even after the accident, you were still doing some things in that CBA that was unheard of, and still would have, could have, and should have had a call up to the league.
I tell people the one thing that, like, even with this, is what I break down people in life. Situations when you're young and mistakes that happen. Even with the case I had, that I could have spoke on for a lot of reasons that a lot of people didn't know about, but I didn't, because it's another a party involved. But a lot of people, you read and and not knowing how all that shaped out, and the choice was made for me to not even. I would have won that. I just, at the time when all the heat was going on and the opportunity presented itself right there to leave and go make money. That's why things unfolded the way it did. If people didn't really know everything that went on about that. So I didn't, like, get into a lot of details about it. When people write or whatever they say, I didn't go to prison, because that wasn't the case. That what happened with that whole situation. It was a lot of stuff that wanted to be protected that was so bad on the other person's side that I could not speak about.
Yeah.
So a lot of those things is in the court of public opinion, you run into that. And that's the thing I learned, where people say, man, how are you so mentally strong? Because I know in this situation, it comes with the territory of being a high profile player and what you got to deal with. Kobe dealt, a lot of players and athletes and dealt with those situations. And it's like, now, well, you can't, people gonna have their own mindset, their own thought on things. But for me as a player, and knowing the situation I was in, even without the accident, it's like, all right, you can easily falter, say, all right, well, I guess this is the path. And a lot of kids don't have that mindset and strength to understand you all have a purpose. It depends on how hard you're working to change what narrative. And some narratives you won't change, but you can change it for yourself. And I think for me as a player, that brought me to this day, to today, that while I'm still so talked about, even Matt and Steven, a lot of guys to this day, and I ain't played basketball in 13 years.
Right.
And they say he's continued to be this popular and talked about for this many decades. And I just coach basketball now. I train, I teach, I enjoy it, I love it. And that's the beauty of it, because I learned so much from the game mentally. And then not only can talk about the basketball, but off the court situation, the mental focus it takes to succeed. So all those things kind of brought me to where I'm at today. And I think that and helped me prepare in myself in life.
See, and I'm glad you're sharing that story, because you held that and kept that on your chest, because you didn't care what the opinions of other people were, and you weren't going to be kind of, the snitches get stitches kind of thing, and like, hey, I'm Ronnie Fields, I'm just, I'm good, I'm going to be all right. And you have persevered, and you've got a great story. So think about the impact that you're making with the inner city youth now, being a coach and a mentor, and giving them your knowledge and expertise. That stuff is gold, my friend.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, look, each and every day as you get older, and we see it now, life has changed for so many crazy things happen in so many aspects on both sides, male and female. And I think for me is, growing up in the era and the age that we did, where we was taught so many things that we had to learn from, and the punishment and the discipline from it, it helped change us, right?
Yep.
And that's what we want to get back to today, to understand what these, help these kids understand it is consequences that comes. And now when you make those mistakes, or situations, and you able to live through it or whatever it may be, you have chance to change the direction of your life. A
I
lot of
love that.
people mentally not strong like that nowadays, to be able to change the direction of their life once one mishap happened in their life, or two mishaps happened, or whatever. They feel and let the public or those mistakes be who they are.
Yep. 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 They let outside noise
Yeah.
affect their choices and decisions. And if they don't have a tough mindset with social media and all the things that are out
It
there
could get to
today,
them.
I mean, it's hard on the youth. Let's be honest.
It is. And that's one of the biggest things where, for me, want to be able to put together even more of a better situation for kids to see they more than just where they grew up
Yep.
and the things that's around them. It's a lot of other things in life out here. And I know it from, of course, you've seen me play all over the world for 16, 17 years. And got a chance to see. This is why I tell people, being here from the United States and understanding a couple of things. One, if I never got a chance to play in so many amazing places, but also in a lot of amazing places, just like we look and say we have poverty. I've seen 1,000 times worse poverty in a lot of countries where, at least in this country, you can go stand on the corner and ask for money and get food or a place to stay for that day or a month. Here in the States, we just, those opportunities there. Abroad, a lot of young kids, babies. It's been times when I played and I go over there with so much gear, fortunate and blessed to have things. And I would leave everything there with a lot of the kids, family, players, all the clothes, stuff that they never see or never would be able to get in their life.
Yep.
And doing those things, even to this day now, an appreciation of, even on all the smoke from people around the world, to have a lot of great things to say, and for what I was able to, the impact I was able to make in their lives, it means a lot, because it didn't go unnoticed of the people that that needed it or
Yep.
was in a difficult situation, not just here but abroad, that people face even more daunting tasks to live life and succeed.
Well said. Well said. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the Coach Scott Fields Show. We've got Ronnie Fields on here, a Chicago legend when it comes to the game of basketball. I'm going to take a second here and share this. But just a couple days before your birthday, on February 28th, which is your birthday, February 26th of 1996, you had a car accident where you fractured your neck,
Yeah.
which was much more of a serious thing than what you had even thought at the time of the incident. But when I look at this list of players who could have been in the NBA and didn't make it, I think of Lynn Bias from his tragic overdose after being drafted by the Celtics. I think
Yeah.
of Pee Wee Kirkland,
Yeah.
a Rutgers legend. I think of Hank Gathers, who tragically died of a heart attack on the court. Oscar Schmidt from Brazil,
Yeah.
Dijon Bodaroga. Your name, my friend, would be right up there with all those amazing athletes who never had the opportunity to play in the league. And I want our viewers to know that out of my sign of respect for you. But take us to that day, February 26, 1996. You're driving home and your car goes off the ramp and you hit a wall.
Yeah.
Take us to that
What happened that
experience and share with the viewers what that was like and what happened. And even in your mind, walking away from the accident, when someone in a truck drove by to see you and recognized who you were, I mean, what was it, a cold, rainy night? Because I'd heard it was a rainy night and you hit a
Yeah.
pothole. Share
So
that story, Ronnie, because I think there's a lot to learn from that as well, even with your mindset as
oh,
with your competitive juices.
yeah, for me, how I break it down once I look back after the fact of the accident, I look at it in the way my mind is and it shaped me today. I look at it like this. That moment in life of where you the top of the food chain, of you feel as a young kid, you got to think you're a teenager. I'm 17 years old, 18
Ooh,
years old. You don't think nothing can go wrong. And I think this is a mistake a lot of young kids make, even adults, when they don't think nothing could go wrong, or doing what you're doing, things don't come back in you in life. At that moment, at that age, that didn't run through my head. That day, I had other plans to do something, and then I changed it because I was like, all right, I'm supposed to go to a couple of shoe stores and do autographs. So I took one of my teammates, right? He lives way south at the time. So he gonna hang out with me. We go eat, do all these things. And then he's like, all right, well, I just go to school with you in the morning. I said, okay, cool. You just drive to school with me in the morning. Well, at around 11:30, his mom was like, Ronnie, well, could you bring him home? Like, he's good, he's safe. And then I'm like, all right. So I called a friend and asked, to go with me to drop him off. We did that, come back. And then my friend's mom was like, well, just stay here. It's starting to rain, whatever. I say, I only got another 15 minutes to go to get myself back. I never get, she's like, just stay right here on the couch and leave early. And I was like, I think I can make it. And the crazy part, it was just, you don't got enough experience of life of when you watch things on TV or things that happen at that age to know maybe that's a good thing, right? You just don't know when you're that young.
Yep.
So I was like, all right, I can make it. So I'm leaving, it start raining, and it's like a ramp that goes into another highway. And it started raining. So when I wasn't even going fast, I'm doing probably around about like 60 because it's raining, and I'm going down the ramp. And so you see, like, you couldn't see the pothole. It was so full with some water. So the driver's side tire hit it, right? And then it's a bridge. And once it hit, that's when it lost control and the car started spinning and it hit the bridge. So in that moment, of course, shock of all that happening, I found myself in the back seat when it was like, and then my eyes opened up.
Yeah, this is after your car had hit the embankment
Yeah,
and got
yeah.
spun. You get tossed to the back seat.
Back seat, yeah. And I didn't realize because, like I said, once that happened and I got out, I feel my face like I'm thinking it's just rain. I didn't even know I was cut open. I ain't know any of that. I couldn't see none of that. So at the time of walking away from it, it's like 12:31. Nobody out that time but truck drivers and these guys end up seeing me at the time, and then the police pulled up, and when they realized who I was, then I got to the hospital, which is crazy because the hospital is Elmhurst, is where I had it. They built that new hospital right there, exactly in front where I had that accident. The hospital wasn't there before.
Wow.
And that's crazy part about it. My work for Lifetime. I run the Ultimate Hoops in Oak Brook in Illinois. That accident where I had it is like literally 5 minutes down the street from there, from my office. So, when that happened at that moment, and this is the thing I think that helped being a young, naive kid, thinking, oh, I'll be able to play tomorrow, not knowing that the damage was that bad. Until it sunk in when I realized, I think that was Kevin first game back in Chicago. And you see a lot of, Bob Costas, Reverend Jesse Jackson, a lot of people speak on that part. I think when the doctor told me what was wrong and then how, the things I had to go through, I'm like, man, will I be able to play? I ain't even talking about career. I was thinking about would I be able to play next week in our playoffs?
Right.
Because the night before that accident, we had a game I just had my last regular season game, getting ready to set the all-time Illinois record. I had like 45. So I'm getting ready to go through this season and then go and put myself in the draft at the time while I'm high up there. But sometimes like those plans in life, it can be deterred for whatever reasons. We don't know. It's just whatever happens when it happens, and we get another opportunity is how we change it from that point on.
That's right.
And sitting in there in Kev, when I'm laying in this crazy looking bed because of the way they had my neck and stuff, and I look up over me. I didn't even know he had walked in. And then because I couldn't turn or look down, so he had to look down at me. And when I looked on his face, that when I knew it was like serious.
Oh, wow. Well, and for the viewers and listeners to understand, you actually broke your neck, and
Yeah,
then you had to wear one of those halo type things
yeah,
to let your neck heal for months, because in your mind, you had such a competitive spirit and such a toughness about you. You're like, okay, I got to play in a couple nights, and I'm going to be beyond the third time Chicago Public leading scorer for the
yeah,
tournament. I mean, let's talk about that toughness, because that mental toughness that you displayed in that split second is what kind of helped catapult who you became and how it molded you for the rest of your life as a player to be able to play professionally overseas for years and in the CBA.
yeah. Yeah, you're right about that moment. That kind of showed me where my mental toughness really was in life on how to handle things. Because you
Yeah,
got
because
to
most
think,
people would
going from
just
being
throw
a
in the towel and quit. I'm done.
yeah, especially when you projected to be another, a NBA high level star player, and your class of guys was
Yeah,
so
that's that
great.
96 class.
Yeah, when you look at your peers of so many great players, Steve Jackson, Tim Thomas, Mike Bibby, um, Artest, Kobe, Shaheem Holloway, Jermaine O'Neal, Corey Benjamin. I mean, it's a list of guys that you was the leader of that class.
That's right. You
That's
you
the
you were
part.
you were him.
Yeah. So I think for me, when like being in that hospital bed and realizing, all right, you have this plate that the doctors say that you will have to live with in your neck. It's difficult. Um, the one thing I never forget at the time of not even fully healed, and for the maybe 6, 7 NBA team physicians at the time when the pre-draft was in Chicago and it was at Moody Bible, and you go through all these teams, the doctors, and I know I like didn't have enough time to get right and prepared for that situation. Um, but that's just at the time where your mind going because you want to do whatever after all the stuff going on to like get your mind free of doing something that you enjoy back on the court. So you kind of move fast. I moved fast at the time, you
Yep.
know, that I take responsibility for instead of just healing and going slow with things after all the things that transpired leading up to that situation from the court case, the situation at DePaul, um, and then the accident. Those three
Yeah.
things. So it was
Wow.
like simultaneously, like boom, 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 boom. What's next? All right. So handling those things and saying, all right, will I let this shape me because of all these things that had transpired, right? And the one thing I said I was determined was one, once I'm able to play to whatever level, I was not, I was Ronnie Fields, but I wasn't that Ronnie Fields after my accident.
Yeah.
I was still a good player, but I wasn't the player that I was before that. Still was able to do a lot of amazing things, but to be consistent at the level that I was accustomed to, that's one of the things I lost along after that accident.
Yeah. And you know what I hear you saying, Ronnie, and I have the utmost respect and admiration, because I hear strength, I hear mental toughness. Right now, I hear so much maturity and reflection. Now that we're older, it's easier to reflect back, but yet you still didn't allow that to stop you, because you still had tremendous CBA and FIBA experiences
Yeah.
because of that mental toughness that you always displayed. And I want to make sure that, that's put out there, because for people who don't know, they need to know. You have to have that. And with today's grassroots basketball in the United States, they have all this AAU where people, they're not being taught the right way.
The right
But
way.
yet your mental toughness and your mental, your mentorship right now and coaching with these youth players, that's you passing the proverbial torch, because you have so much passion and purpose to make an impact on these communities still today, when you could have just given up easily, and you've never done that. So the mental toughness and maturity that you have through your reflection, I think, needs to be commended. And I want to use this platform to give you those flowers.
No, thank you. Thank you. It means a lot, Scott. The one thing, even with coaching now, because everybody, today can be trained and taught and watch videos. But the one thing of being in the moment and your mind of mental toughness when certain things ain't working or teams scout you or take things away, how you still be able to be impactful when you struggle. And that's one of the biggest things I work on and teach the kids of being mentally tough through whatever adjustments make. How we make another adjustment is up to us coaches. Once we see that, long as you got the mental aspect of to understand, all right, this is what they're doing. Now you got to get out to this. From this standpoint, I'm going to show you what they're trying to do, and this is what you need to do. And don't be afraid to make mistakes when you're doing it,
Yep.
right? Because this is just a lesson moving forward.
That's right.
This is going to happen. So coaching that way, more so than sitting there majority of the time just have them doing drills all day. Well, drills and muscle memory is good to a certain point, but if you don't have mental toughness and those things, miss shots and defense lacking is not going well in the game, you'll be sitting next to me, because now you can't mentally handle doing other aspects of your game because you ain't hitting shots, or you just turning the ball over, because now mentally you out of it. So you can't give me nothing else.
Yeah,
I
I love that, because as coaches, and I've been blessed to have coached around the globe and have coached, a little sip of tea in the NBA. Those people who have that toughness that you're talking about and can stay present, stay in the moment, and not let one mistake turn into two mistakes because you're in your head and in your feelings, but stay present and make the next play. That's the guys who become elite and become that 1%. Because what I hear Ronnie Fields saying is, hey, you know what? There is a toughness to the game, and I'm going to help show you and give you a blueprint so that you can be that dude. Because there's no doubt you could have been a Hall of Fame basketball player, but you are a Hall of Fame character, leading with your heart, and the servant leadership that you're displaying now is beyond anything that the game that you could have done within that 94 feet within the lines.
Yes. Yeah, and that's why I said I was able to, yes. And I tell people, it's like, well, to a party, you're not playing at the next level. Of course, I mean, I would love to be there because a lot of my peers and friends that achieved it, and I still been able to have a really, really good basketball career.
That's right.
But in the same token, I still been able to learn a lot, even more mental toughness throughout both playing and the experiences leading up into that as well. So I kind of got the best of both worlds in a different way of learning in life.
Yeah, because I mean, think about it. It'd be so easy for you to have a lot of bitterness and be resentful because you were as good, if not better, than the guys you've been watching on TV for years, and you know that in your heart, but yet you still took the tools that were given to you and still were able to, do some great things and still impact communities. Talking about that, I mean, we still got about 10 minutes. What were some of your best experiences being in the CBA? And then the second part of that question, what was some of your favorite experiences playing internationally? Because you and I shared some common stops.
Well, I think what it is, especially as a young man, like when you haven't been out of your element, you're growing up on the west side of Chicago, and you now in another part of the world with languages you don't even speak, you learning to be a young man on the fly. Yeah, I think I was playing professionally 18, 19 years old. So like now I had to absorb even that difficulty of going against a different style, different leagues compared to where I was accustomed to, and being an 18-year-old young man. So I had to adjust my style, my plan, and understand, how it is in Europe or South America, or it's different, or in Asia. Every style is different. And this is what I always tell people: watching the Olympics and watching how our culture of basketball has changed compared to the other side of the world. Nothing has changed in terms of the way they go about their practices, their development, their teaching. It's always been that for 80, 90 years of however it has existed, right? We have changed when our Olympic players of today, and maybe like 10 years ago, when they see the games getting closer, and they say, well, they're caught up to us. No, it's just our game went away from being this physical, what we had to get used to when they bring their style that they're accustomed to for history to our game. Our players get used to, they're going to give you the extra bump, or they're going to let you have the legal screens there. So it's not that they caught up to what we do so much. I think it's the physicality that they're allowed to play with there compared to how we play a loose, up and down tempo type game here. And that's the difference I even see with some Olympic teams. And then even when Jordan and Barkley played, I think it was used to them in the era. Yeah, players was really good. Sabonis, all those guys back then, them guys was great as well. But also in the era of Jordan and Barkley and all those guys, the game was so damn physical, they was adjusted already to that. So that didn't bother those guys. So, and I think when people looking at it, you can say like, yes, you can't, and breaking down basketball as much as I do. And people say, all right, well, is the game more skilled today? Yes. And they say guys more athletic. But the two guys that's dominating our league today are not athletic. They just high skill level guys, and they're able to play in this era where it's not as physical.
I agree. I mean, and when you say two guys, immediately I think Jokic and I
Luka
think Luka
Doncic.
Doncic, two international guys who at their pace and with their skill set, they can still get a bump and get a shot off,
Exactly.
even though
They
it looks
used to
slow
that.
motion. So I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, you guard a guy like Luka, you ain't even put no arm ball on him. You ain't able to like do so many different things. And this is the thing that you don't understand. When people say, man, Luka cry about everything. He's a young kid. He's still learning and growing in the game. But you also got to look at the fact that he see what our guys have done here as well. And he look at, I'm a superstar here too. I want those same calls.
Yeah. And think about it, with the rule changes of
So
today
I think,
and the pace and the
look,
space, they
what
can
makes the
utilize that
sport,
skill set.
especially, yeah, they can utilize it. What makes the sport, our sport, because we talking basketball, special, because you got so many dynamic of people that chime in with their opinions. Some are a little bit crazy, but some, it's good that they watching and they had this passion to voice. Even the ones that follow their team and they upset when they lose, or what players, even people that play for their own home team, how they can be on a certain player so bad. You love the passion because they want to win. And sometimes those people that's cheering that hard and to the naked eye, it makes it seem like they want it more than the player that's out there playing.
That's a good point, Ronnie. That's a good point, and I think it's refreshing to hear you say that because you've played with the best and you were ranked with the best. Basketball has been great to both of us. We have been abundantly
Yes.
blessed. We learned a lot of life skills through basketball. What's one or two of the best life skills that the game has taught you that you're trying to teach to the youth on a daily basis?
Oh man, discipline, ups and downs throughout the quarter, from quarter to quarter. Um, the mental focus and toughness that carries on during the actual game, especially when you are one of the main guys and you carrying and being a leader for others, right? Um, and that carries on as my coaching. And then also for me to play and succeed is like I always look at basketball and life in the same token from my experience.
A lot of
It's like
parallels.
yeah, it parallels. It's like you wake up and you leave the house and you first get a call, uh, something happened or there's a bad day start. And then you go out through that day, your focus so caught up on that bad day that sometimes people don't look at it as that just that day. They let it carry over to a lot of other things, right?
Yep.
And then they have a bad week, right? And that carries over to a bad month. It's just like in the game. First half, you're going against another team, right? You have no control over what their plans are. It's your adjustment to it and what you do from that point. And that means either you're gonna start off well and they make adjustment and it may change, or you great enough to overcome it, which is very few. The Michael Jordans that can do it, or you're gonna have a bad game in the second half. So you mentally, it shows you it's gonna be ups and downs through it. Now, how you persevere and come out and make adjustment the next day. It's the
I,
same thing with people in life. You
I,
can't dictate how people gonna respond and act the next day and how they're gonna be, much as we want to have that impression on other people or what they think or what they should have done or what this person should have done. We all can say that in hindsight, right? We all do it.
yep.
But in reality, it comes back to yourself as a person and what you learned and seen from it, right?
Love
That
that.
you can use and help others moving forward. And I think that's what I use it. And I don't care if it's, like with my family, friends, in relationships in life, you have those balances. And sometimes for me, I speak a lot with my heart. So with your heart, when you speak a lot and people don't understand the passion of like knowing what's a true heart when you speak, it's like when you're dealt with so much bad in their life, it's hard for them to see you coming with true caring and feelings for that person than all the other people that probably done them wrong or did some or this didn't go right in their life. So
Yep.
that's what's, it's like you find yourself trying to explain even more to them to get them to see that point. And what you realize later on as time going, a lot of people don't see it.
I love that. Ronnie, I think that's gold that you just preached right there. I heard Coach Prime not long ago say in an interview, he may have a bad moment, but it's not a bad day because having
Yeah,
that mindset, like you just talked about, you can take a bad moment and flip it and not focus on just that bad incident that happened. And you can still, carry on and do quality things just like you've done. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Coach Scott Fields Show. Thrilled to have my friend Ronnie Fields here sharing gold nuggets with you, the viewers. Please share this content for others because I think there's a lot of empowerment and there could be a lot of growth, and maturity through listening to stories and journeys like Ronnie has shared with this. And Ronnie, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing this time on our
thank you.
platform. This has been fantastic, and it's been worth the wait to have you come on this show to share the wisdom and expertise and knowledge from your personal experiences.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks for having me on. Like I said, and I want to send a shout out to I seen on one of the ones you sent me, another great guy, great player, hardworking, hard-nosed player that I was so, happy and grateful to see that, he's bouncing back from his hard plans transpired um and what he dealt with. It's that's one of the most hardworking guys I've seen and his toughness and the way he went about things, like you can see it just on the floor. And thank God that he's healthy, and things is going well for him in his life, and through what he's been through and stuff.
Amen. Amen. Ronnie, thank you for your time. God bless. Stay tuned for another episode of the Coach Scott Fields Show, where quality guests like my man, Ronnie Fields, make this thing so much better. Be blessed, live, love, and serve. God bless you all.
All right. Thanks, Scott. Take care.